There's a difficult passage in this week's Torah portion. God first tells us about all the wonderful things he's going to do for us if we observe his commandments. And then, chillingly, he warns us about all the terrible things that will befall us if we don't. And he says that these bad things will happen because we didn't serve him with happiness. Now that's strange. Imagine you take a test. You get your exam paper back and there's a red check mark next to each one of your answers, showing that you got the right answer. And yet your grade is an F. You go to see the professor and you explain that there obviously must have been some mistake made because you got all the questions right, but you got an F. And the professor says, no, that's the correct grade. You say, how can that be? And the professor says, because I was watching you while you were taking the test. You got the answers right, but you weren't smiling while you were writing them down. You'd say, what in the world are you talking about? That makes no sense. And yet that seems to be what's going on here in this passage. And that is what's going on here, because there's an independent obligation attached to every one of the commandments, that we have to do each one of the commandments, each one of the mitzvahs, with a smile on our face, enthusiastically, while doing the happy dance, showing God that we're happy, that we want to serve him, that that's why we were put here in the world. We're not serving him like a conquered nation serves its new ruler. We're not serving him because we're slaves that are bound. We're serving him because we love him and because we want to come closer to him. There are those who say that we lost an entire generation of Jews to Jewish observance. When the first immigrants came to America, a parent would go to work on a Friday and would come home after being told by the boss, if you don't come in tomorrow on the Sabbath, then don't come in on Monday. You'll be fired. And that parent, when he or she got home, would sigh and say, it's tough to be a Jew. And those little Jewish kids would hear that and say, well, in that case, I'm out of here. I'm checking out. I'm not interested in Judaism. Many years ago, while I was in yeshiva in Israel, I had the opportunity to study every day with a fellow who was significantly older than I was. He's no longer with us. May he rest in peace. And one day he was reflecting on how lucky he was. He was a grandfather with 8 children and many grandchildren, and he was telling me that he was so thrilled that his children were so happy and healthy in their Jewish observance. And he said, I don't know if I can take any credit for it, but if I can, there's one thing that I think I really did right, and it's this. My children know that I love to eat a good steak. Boy, do I enjoy that. But they also know that when I hear a nice Devar Torah, a nice Torah thought, I enjoy it as much as if I'm eating a steak. They see the enthusiasm that I have for Torah and for doing mitzvahs, and I think it rubbed off on them. And we have to make sure the same thing in our houses, that our enthusiasm for Judaism rubs off on our children, and that our children see that we're at least as enthusiastic about our Judaism as we are about our other hobbies and pursuits. The Talmud tells the story about how Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, used to visit a certain sage. And one day, he visited the sage in the marketplace. And the sage said, tell me, are there any people in this marketplace that are destined to enter the world to come, to get into heaven when they die? And Eliyahu said, yes, those 2 guys over there. So this rabbi went over to the 2 fellows, introduced himself, and said, guys, can I ask you a question? What do you do for a living? Expecting that they would probably say that they were rabbis or that they gave a lot of charity. And the 2 guys said, we are clowns. Excuse me? Yeah, that's right. We're comedians. When people are sad, we make jokes and we make them laugh. And in that merit, those 2 guys made it to heaven. So don't worry. Don't worry about what anybody else has to say. Put a smile on your face. Be happy when doing mitzvahs.